Okay, perfect. Yeah, cool. Wait up, thanks, man. Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks so much. It's an evening of your life you're not going to get back. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
When I bring you up, I'm going to be going down, so I'll be sitting over there instead of just staring at your backside. As much as it might be fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me just tap that. Do you have a piano player? You can use it. All right. Perfect. All right. Good evening, everybody. Evening. I think we still have people kind of wandering in, but we're at time. No, that would be a lie. It's good to see everybody. Had to take my glasses off to say everybody could be here this evening. I've really enjoyed getting to share with a few of you, and hope we get more time to chat. This evening we've got a good program ahead of us. Before we start, I've got two things. We do have a wallet that was discovered. It's lost and found, so I guess I'm doing lost and found announcements. If you have displaced your wallet and you can identify the bill number on the cash, you're welcome to it. Nope. It's the $13 bill. If you can identify that, then you can have your wallet back. In addition to that, this evening after our evening session, David Lloyd came and shared with me that there's going to be an all volunteers hymn sing. So anybody that wants to do some hymn singing this evening, there's going to be a musician that's going to be right here playing the piano, and anybody that wants to can participate in that as well. So, exciting times this evening. So, to start off our evening, we're going to begin with Green Book 99. Brother James is going to kick us off with that, and then afterwards we're going to have Brother Drew Lawrence come up and open our session in prayer. So, 99.
Our great and glorious Heavenly Father, we come before you now this evening thankful. We're thankful for this beautiful day you've given to us, the nature, your creation around us, and for all these wonderful people. And we ask that you be with all of us tonight and help us focus on you and your Son and what you've shown in your word and what's going on around the world, and help us be pricked to do more and to be like your Son, to enact what we see in your word. And we are most thankful for him and that example we have before us, and we pray this now through Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, fantastic. Well, this evening we have the privilege of hearing from John Owen. He's going to share with us about Christadelphian care homes. So, Brother John Owen.
Do you need this? Oh, there's the wallet. Oh, payment has come. Thank you. Well, brothers and sisters, this evening I'm going to try to tell you a love story. And it begins in a bit of a sad way. It begins a number of years ago when I was 16 and I had leukemia. And after having leukemia and having to go through some of the treatment for that, I found myself sort of telling some brothers about this afternoon and thought, oh, you know, perhaps that's where really this story begins. And one of the repercussions of having treatment for leukemia, radiotherapy and chemotherapy, was that I was told a few years later, I didn't sort of realize at the time, but I was told a few years later that it was highly, highly unlikely that I'd be able to have children. That the kind of those drugs were so powerful that they had unfortunately kind of damaged that in that sense. So I struggled a bit on the dating scene. Okay, I sort of found that if ever I bumped into someone that I kind of thought was pretty good, I couldn't somehow get myself to talk through this challenge, and it didn't work out. And a few years went on, and I started to think, okay, well, maybe it's not for me. Marriage isn't going to be for me. I just got to accept that and get on with life. And then I went to a weekend, Bible weekend in the UK, in Swanwick. And I don't know if some of you perhaps have been to Swanwick or heard of Swanwick, but I went to this Bible weekend. And I didn't want to go at all, but my brother-in-law was one of the speakers, and my sister said, oh, John, we need some help with childcare. You come, So off I went to Swanwick for the weekend, feeling thoroughly bugged about the whole thing. And by the Saturday, that was the Friday night, I got in trouble for getting there late on Friday night from some of the organisers. And on the Saturday, sat through the talks, helped with my kids, my nephews and nieces in the afternoon. And then in the evening, went off and read a book in a room somewhere. And while I was sat reading, a beautiful woman walked through. Now, of course, you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about my wife, okay? And she wandered through, and we had a bit of a discussion, and she was with another guy, and I thought, there's no way this guy's going to be with her. No, she's off, there's not a chance here. So just, let it go. But there was something about it. I thought, there was just something in her eye. I reckon there's a chance here. So the next morning, before the breaking of bread, I shaved, okay? I thought, right, I'm going in for this, okay? I went crazy, shaved, okay? Went into the meeting, and the way that Swanwick was it was a big chapel you went into, and you sort of went into on both sides. And after the meeting, we filtered out, and she was sat on one side. I knew where she was sat, but she was sat over there, and I was sat over here. And as we filtered out, we happened to filter out together. And we then went off, and she said to me, oh, look, come and sit with me for lunch. And me being an absolute wussy was like, oh, no, but you can come and sit with me. And she kindly did, and it wasn't long before we were kind of dating. And 2 weeks into sort of dating, I had a super awkward conversation. I had to say, look, I've got to tell you something. I really like you. But you need to know this about me, okay? I don't think that I will be able to have children. Of course, completely believe that if God wanted me to have children, that would be no problem, but you must know this. And anyway, I said, oh, please don't make a decision now. Just going to go away, have a chat with your folks, get your head around that. And if the relationship doesn't work, well, you don't have to say that's what it is. It just doesn't work, But she stuck with it. She stuck with it. And a few years later, we got married. Now, not having children, it's practically the first question we get asked on any, thing where we meet anybody, so if you left your kids at home, but it can leave a void, of course it can, in not having that in married life. But this is where this next part of the story comes in. You see, when we got married, Sarah was still in the second year of university, do 3 years in the UK, and we lived around the corner from the Olivet care home, one of the main Christadelphian care homes, the biggest one. And she'd go around there and do some work around there. And doing a bit of care. And I was saying, I'm a teacher, be a teacher. We can share holidays together. We can go off, we can do this, we can do that. And Sarah's super musical, so she had done music at university. And I was saying, be a music teacher. But she went and gave it a try and said, I absolutely hate it. And I knew there was just no point trying to persuade somebody who hates teaching to try and be a teacher, because it would simply kill you. But we were chuffed that the manageress at Olivet Care Home said to Sarah, why don't you go on the management program here? And so she did. And it turned into this immense blessing in our life, because it kind of gave Sarah a kind of real maternal aspect in looking after and caring for some of those older people, older brothers and sisters in those care homes. So I'm going to tell you a bit this evening about those care homes. So I don't know how much you know, but there are 9 care homes in the UK, Christadelphian care homes, with over 325 residents in them. They go right up to Scotland, Gowan Lee there, and they go across to Wales, which is actually where we ended up, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later. Here's a few pictures of the homes. I'm not going to stay on them for very long, but just gives you a sense of what some of them look like. I can assure you the one in Bournemouth is more than just a bench, but the picture they put on the website is of a bench. Then this one up in North and Southport as well. And then these are the 2 main ones in the Birmingham area. That one on the right-hand side, Olivet Care Home, is the one that we lived just around the corner from when we were first married. So what are they all about then, the care homes? Well, this is their objective, to be the care provider of choice for Christadelphians. And their mission statement is to provide loving individual care, enabling people to lead fulfilling lives within a spiritual environment centered on the Christadelphian ethos. Now, these care homes, they go back a long time. Let me give you a bit of history here. The first home was in Southport, which is, sort of Manchester, Liverpool area, and that was opened in the 1940s. So, talking about care being around for over 80 years, where the Christadelphians have had an organised way in the UK of trying to support the brothers and sisters, the older brothers and sisters. And the biggest care home that was opened was often known as the Home and Hospital. If I was speaking in a Bible school in the UK, there'd be a seriously good chance that masses of the people that were there had either worked there at some point, that certainly their mums, if they'd been in the meeting, would have probably at some point done some gap year or something working in the care homes. And although it's changed quite a lot from that these days, I showed you that picture earlier, care's been going there for some time. I'll just go into those pictures a little bit more, because it is just sort of interesting to see that that's how the Home and Hospital looked in 1955, and then into the 70s when it became the Home and Hospital. Now, gradually over the years, multiple homes across the UK were then set up by brothers and sisters, and the homes were run independently or in groups. That's actually the Home and Hospital. It's pretty cool that they were able to provide some nursing care there, as well as just kind of residential care. So the homes that were set up around the UK were more to do with just residential, just supporting older brothers and sisters as they were getting older. And a couple here or a couple there were setting these homes up. It's a wonderful thing they were able to do. They were called wardens as they looked after the brothers and sisters. But eventually, as legislation and things, as will have happened no doubt in the US as well, became tighter and there were more restrictions on this and that comes in, they realized the need to sort of bring all of those homes now under one umbrella. And it was in 2008 when the homes became the Christadelphian care homes under that umbrella. Well, in terms of then that current organisation, there are some 220 in the care environment, so those who kind of need care. There are 105 brothers and sisters who are in flats and apartments around those 9 homes. And I think it's a great thing and quite a shocking thing sometimes for some people outside the UK to understand that these are for Christadelphians. 95% of the brothers and sisters that are in these homes, well, of their brothers and sisters, they are Christadelphians. In Australia, they had a model that was working so amazingly well when they were kind of creating care homes that other people from outside the Christadelphian community started to use them. And when they were making profit from them, they had to plough the profits back into care homes, so they created more care homes. And sadly, what has happened in a number of the care homes in Australia that we've visited is that there's hardly any Christadelphians living in them. Sometimes hardly any Christadelphians working in them as well. So they've almost kind of lost the point, and then Christadelphians that even live nearby might choose to sort of still go to another home because in the end it's only a Christadelphian home by name, as it were. That's not the case in the UK. They really are Christadelphian homes. They employ a lot of people, but not so many in terms of Christadelphians now. A quarter of them are Christadelphians. They'd love to be more, but in the end, you need working staff. There's a whole variety of people that are working in there. It's also lovely to see that there are some 450 brothers and sisters who volunteered just within the last 12 months. And that wouldn't at all include just young people coming in for CYCs, for youth groups, etc. It's a big organisation and needs lots of people to run it. And you can imagine that being able to support that many brothers and sisters is a great thing. Instead of having these wardens now then, the homes now have managers, they're paid managers. And Sarah, having been on that management programme, could have been asked to move anywhere. We understood that when Sarah kind of signed up to that. We knew that we could be asked to move to Scotland. We could have been asked to move down to the south of England, to Bournemouth. We could have been asked to move down towards Devon in Torquay. We could have been asked to go to London way. We could have been asked to stay in the middle. It could have been all sorts of places that we were asked to go, and we completely had our heads around that. But we both remember in July 2011 being called. Sarah took the call and then rang me at work and said, we've both been asked to go to the managing director's office in Olivet. Well, any of you that know Sarah would realise that I just naturally assumed she'd done something terrible, So we're on our way and we're sort of chatting about it, thinking, I wonder what this is about, and we are a bit clueless, frankly. We honestly just don't know. But we go in and the managing director says, look, we want to talk to you about the fact that we do want you to go and to be part of a management team in one of the homes around the UK. And they said, the one that we want you to go to is in Mumbles. That's in South Wales. Would you be okay with that? Well, we bit their arm off because my twin brother lived in Mumbles. Okay, that's the ecclesia that he was in. He and I, together at birth, but then, circumstances in life changed. We had to sort of live apart. But to be asked to go and live next to your twin, yes, please. So essentially, we just went back and started packing. And we saying, yeah, we're happy to go. And Sarah moved down in the November and lived in the care home for a while. I moved down in the January. I had to see out the school term and then went down and we bought a sort of wreck of a house and started doing that up and ended up living down in South Wales. And part of the reason, obviously my twin brother being there was great, but I'll also tell you that living around the corner from Olivet, we lived on an industrial estate. The tip was just down the road. The railway track went behind the back of our house. It was a kind of pretty inner city, kind of pretty tough place to live in a way. We were happy there, but we knew that one day it'd be nice to move out. And to be asked to move to Mumbles was special. Let me show you this. Okay, this is just round the corner from our house. This is where we walk to, 5 minutes walk from our house. You are welcome anytime. okay? You really are. We would love it if you said, we're on our way down that neck of the woods. We'd love to come and stay with you. Honestly, the Gower Peninsula that kind of sticks out, it is a really beautiful place. We feel super blessed to be there, and we want to share it with you. While we're away, there's some brothers and sisters who are staying in our house. You are welcome to come to our house. We would love to see you there at some time. But you see why it is that we were excited and thrilled to be asked to move down to that neck of the woods. And Sarah managed that home then for some 10 years, over 10 years. But I want to tell you really what makes the Christadelphian care home so special. It's the Christadelphian ethos that comes through. And that's down to the fact that a lot of... I should have told you, by the way. I'll tell you a bit more about this, okay? I should have told you this. So we got asked to move down there. We moved down there. My twin already lives there. So I'm now living near to my twin. That same summer, 2011, my eldest sister, Katie, her husband was working for the NHS, the health service in the UK, and his job was made redundant, but they said to him, we can find you a role in Carmarthen. Now, Carmarthen is just the other side of Mumbles. It's not far away at all. So, honestly, this is getting like, what? This is amazing to be asked to do that. So they moved that way. And we've got a sister with Down syndrome who's there in the middle with my mum and dad. That's Amy. And so we were saying to my mum and dad, you come on up. No, they were still down in South Devon, in the south of England. We're saying, come. And my mum and dad were saying, oh, no, that's not a wise idea to follow your kids, What? Don't be so silly. Come on, okay? Up you come. And eventually, my sister-in-law, Rebecca, Peter's wife, was pregnant. And Peter thought, use this as a bit of leverage, and said to my mum, oh, come on, Mum, we're going to need your help. Come up. And my mum said, well, if you have twins, we'll come. They had twins, okay? They then came up, and my mum and dad now live sort of 10 minutes away from us as well, Amy with them. So, that's an amazing thing. Now, funny enough, I was once telling that to a grandma at work. So I work in a school, and on a kind of parent help day, I was doing a bit of gardening with this grandma. And she was asking, how did you come to live down here? She could tell I didn't have the lovely Welsh accent. And so I told her this story, and she said to me, well, that sounds like a very God-guided life. Oh, that absolutely hit me. But, it made me realize it is. It's just that. God has been working in our lives to enable us to be down there, and it's been an immense blessing in our lives. So let me tell you a bit more about, the volunteers that are working in the care homes, and there's all sorts of awesome things they get up to, from leading the Bible readings each day, to doing gardening, to taking residents for a walk around the garden, lots of other activities, they're sort of making a classic British tea party, probably something to do with the Queen's coronet, I don't know what it would have been, but cooking, knitting, natting, craft work, games, keeping fit, table tennis, outings to brothers and sisters' homes. There's just so much that is able to go on in those care homes because you've got these wonderful volunteers coming in. And you can recognize that whatever they do helps the homes to be set apart from other homes. There is, I don't know how many of you would know, Sister Anna Oosthuizen, okay? So Anna came and lived down, my sister's, who, incidentally, I didn't tell you this, she lives next door to me. She's been staying there and been doing some work in the care homes. Katie, in fact, is now one of the managers at Newton Court Care Home. So it's amazing what they're able to do, and certainly the spiritual side of the care is wonderful, from breaking of bread services that would go on to Zoom, to fraternals, to Bible readings, to singing, just the general tone, the language, the activities. It's so good to be a part of and to be able to just come in and visit, and there's always something going on. And I'm just telling you almost the kind of basic stuff. It's completely normal as well that you turn up and there happens to be somebody there with birds of prey or something, and an owl is flying around the living room, or you walk in and there's a sheep sat on a resident's lap or something like that. And I promise you, I'm not joking, okay? These things just happen all the time as they kind of look to give these residents a kind of wonderful life, really. And you can imagine that, well, if I mention that, how many of you would know Amy? You know, it's been a lovely thing for her to get involved in being able to go to the care homes and being able to contribute in some way in that voluntary work too. But you can imagine, I was going to say, that there are plenty of times when there's a bit of drama, you know. So, for example, when Auntie Liz, you know, you realise that as they're getting older, a lot of them start getting a bit confused, things can get a bit challenging, and don't always tell these things to the kind of, you know, the joy of the care homes. Half the time they'll be like, oh, how on earth did this happen? But one time Auntie Liz decided to go off for a walk, and eventually they realised, where on earth is Auntie Liz? Got on the phone to the police are out looking, the Coast Guard helicopter comes out, the helicopter circling around Mumbles looking for Auntie Liz, and eventually somebody rings up and says, we think we got one of your residents, she's having a cup of tea in our garden, and she's just kind of a minutes down the road. But that kind of thing happens, those griefs happen in a care home. There are characters too, for example, Auntie Nora. She used to only have her cup of tea, which obviously very British, you know, that cup of tea, and she only had it in a black teacup, okay? Now, she was struggling a bit with her sight and seemed to kind of particularly like having a black teacup. Unfortunately, on a day, that black teacup broke. It was smashed. Well, what happens in a situation like this? Well, in this case, Auntie Glenys, so Auntie Nora, I should have mentioned, was 100. Auntie Glenys is 96, and she's also getting towards the end of life, a bit, how do you say it in the politest way, doolally, okay? Auntie Glenys. And she decides that she is going to fix the problem of the fact that Auntie Nora's black cup has smashed. And so she goes to Sarah in the office, and she petitions to Sarah that Nora should be bought another black teacup. Of course, Sarah agrees that's a good idea to buy Auntie Nora another black teacup. However, the black teacup didn't arrive that day, and that wasn't good enough for Auntie Glenys. So she decided it was her job to get this tragedy sorted out. Auntie Glenys was a wonderful letter writer. So she went up to her room and she wrote 2 letters. The first one was to a local department store, explaining how that the care homes had refused to buy a black teacup for her friend Nora. Now, hilariously, the department store replied and sent back 24 black teacups for the home to be able to have. And Auntie Glenys also wrote a letter to Sarah to explain what she'd done in the absence of Sarah's management skills to be able to deal with this black teacup. And we just found it hilarious how Auntie Glenys signed off this letter. So she wrote this letter telling Sarah off for her abysmal management skills and not sorting this black teacup within a day. But in this letter, she signed it off with love, Glenys, open brackets, Glen to my friends, close brackets, Glenys, kiss, kiss. And we just love the fact that Auntie Glenys was going to make sure that Sarah understood, you are not my friend, okay? You let my friend down with these teacups. Well, despite them looking to provide the best care, there's no helping some. And Auntie Ethel it was, who the care home assumed was taking her tablets every day for some 5 years, until one day the lift had to be removed and replaced. And when they took the lift out the lift shaft, they realised that Auntie Ethel had been taking her tablets back after breakfast every morning and slipping them down the lift shaft, okay? And just getting rid of them. So at the bottom of the lift shaft was this huge pile of tablets that Auntie Ethel should have been having. But she had found some sneaky way to get away with them. I also want to tell you about the fact that the care homes can make a real difference. You know, on the right-hand side there, the brother in the pink jumper and shirt is Brother Lawrence. Brother Lawrence, over 5 years ago now, lived on the streets. He had had a horrifically abusive childhood. He had struggled in all sorts of ways in life. And there was a campaign in Swansea where we were trying to teach people to learn to read the Bible effectively. and he came in essentially for a cup of tea. And in discussions, we started to teach him about the truth, and he wanted to learn. He wanted to learn more and more and more. And he now, he got baptized, and he lived in a sheltered accommodation, which the sort of Christadelphian the Swansea meeting kindly helped to arrange for him. But eventually they decided that their care in where he wasn't going to be good enough, and so they have brought him in. Now, he wouldn't be able to pay a penny of the care that is provided, but I love the fact that the care homes would look to think, how are we able to help in these situations? I also want to tell you about this sister. This is Sister Eileen Palmer. I don't know how many of you know Joseph Palmer. So this is his grandma, his dad's mum. She was a Baptist. She refused to be a Christadelphian. Okay? She wasn't going to go near the Christadelphians. Her husband was a Christadelphian. She didn't want any part of it at all. And that family, you can imagine, prayed and prayed. They time and again tried to breach the conversation with her. She wouldn't have it. She went to live at the end of her life at 96 in the care homes. When she was 97, she turned to Katie, my sister, who was the manager at that time, and said, "I want to be baptized." So at 97, Auntie Eileen was baptized, and that is a picture there of Uncle Stephen baptizing his mum in the care homes there. And then a picture of, again, with one of the young children in the meeting in Mumbles. What a wonderful thing. I'm going to tell you another brief story of somebody else. Now, this person wasn't baptized, but I told you that 95% of the residents are Christadelphians. This lady wasn't a resident. Nearly all it wasn't a Christadelphian, sorry. Nearly all the people that aren't Christadelphians, though, have some connection to Christadelphians in some way. Hence, Auntie Eileen was in the care homes. Well, this lady was called Agnes, and she was originally from Scotland, and she came down to Newton Court, where her family is, to have some respite for a few weeks. And she ended up living there. And when she died, her daughter wrote a long letter to the care home. Now, it is a long letter, so I'm not going to try and read it all to you, but I am going to read some of it to you because I think it helps you to understand what a witness the care homes can be. Our mother moved to Newton Court in December 2018. For 15 years since the death of her husband, she had lived on her own in central Scotland. As she became older, she became increasingly infirm, and she was spending more time in hospital as a result of her deteriorating health in general and increasing frequent falls in particular. Agnes came to Newton Court initially for 3 weeks respite care. At the end of the 3 weeks, she decided to leave her own home and move to Newton Court. She, of course, missed her home, as we all would, but she never regretted her decision. Neither did we, her close family, who have never seen a care home to equal Newton Court. Of course, Newton Court is a Christadelphian care home, and faith runs deeply through its veins. The wider Christadelphian community makes a strong and invaluable contribution to daily life in the care home. Agnes was 86 when she moved to Newton Court and was already quite frail. During her stay, her sight worsened, her hearing deteriorated, and her care requirements generally increased. Staff at Newton Court took all of this in their stride and always looked after her with thoughtfulness, kindness, and compassion. Agnes knew that further physical decline was the natural order of things and had always maintained that when the time came, she did not want to go to hospital. In March 2024, Agnes had a heart attack and was confined to bed for what turned out to be her last days. The Newton Court team were determined to see that she stayed at home. Agnes' end-of-life care was extraordinary. Bear in mind that 2 of Agnes's family are hospital consultants and another is a doctor specialising in palliative care and were with Agnes prior to her death. None have ever seen care and love to match that which Agnes received, be it in a hospital, a nursing home, or even a hospice. There can be no greater tribute to Newton Court and all its staff than that. they're moving words, aren't they? And they surely see what an amazing witness those homes can be when the care is the Christ-like care that we know we are trying to exhibit in our lives. So what does the future hold for the UK Christadelphian care homes? Well, there's now a management team of 3 which oversee those 9 care homes. And during COVID, really, and the challenges then, Sarah was asked to step up and to be part of that team. So she is one of those 3 now, which oversees the strategic direction of the homes, working alongside trustees, volunteers who are supporting in that sense. Earlier on, I shared the objective and the mission statement of the home. And the home have recently decided to commit to the next 20 years in terms of forward planning. And this commitment came about really from a survey in January 2024. And the care homes sent out a survey to all the ecclesias in the UK. And these are the questions that were asked to get them to understand some of the demographic within the ecclesia. So, super general, what's the name? How many members are in the ecclesia? How many of your members are employed? Then in terms of the age groups, getting an understanding of what the age groups are within the ecclesias within the UK. Well, the response was good. For anyone who's done any kind of survey, you realise that 86% is a seriously impressive amount to get back from any survey, let alone from Christadelphians, to try to draw in that. But more importantly, what did the data then tell the Christadelphian care homes? Well, they were a bit surprised that only 33% of the ecclesia were in employment. And this could have a knock-on effect further down the line on the finances of the homes as they rely heavily on donations. But clearly, what they also show is that there is going to be demand there for the next 20 years. There are a good number of people in the age brackets you'd expect to see coming into those homes over the next few years. But the challenge from a human perspective is the finances. Although the care homes have an annual turnover of over £15 million, the average weekly fee is expensive. Care is expensive. This is not an organisation at all that's trying to make profit, nothing like that at all. You think how much work goes in on a voluntary basis. This is just care is expensive. It costs on average around £1,300 a week for care. Now, on top of the fees, so yes, that brings in a decent amount of money in terms of those fees that they're paying for the staff, etc. But on top of those fees, the care home have a further 1.3 million income which comes in, and that comes from, as I've put there, ecclesial and individual donations, so 600,000, other Christadelphian charities, legacies, dividends, and interest. But here comes the challenge. You see, the funding gap for the last financial year was 1.8 million. And they brought in that extra 1.3 million, but essentially you can see that still leaves £500,000 short. And that's without taking into account that in the UK now there's a new government that's pledged to increase the pay of care workers. Other challenges are ahead. So you can see that the care homes need your prayers. And if you're able to support, well, it's easy to do so. And certainly they would be grateful if anyone was able to do that. What I want to finish with, though, is just to say that hopefully you've got a little insight into my love for my wife, my wonderful wife, who I am so grateful was willing to stick by me through the challenges that I had and to be able to live a fulfilling life. And I'm so grateful for the care homes that have been able to provide that role within our lives and been a real blessing for us.
wow. Right? That's what Kim was like. That's an amazing testimony. That's absolutely an amazing testimony. John, thank you so much for sharing. Sarah, thank you so much for your service in that as well. I'm not going to elaborate, but I do love the fact that it's not only a great place, because we're all going this direction, aren't we? Right? We're all going this direction. It's a great place to house people who need the help, and it's a great place to offer service opportunities for volunteers. It's like the whole package. It's totally awesome. So thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate that. Yeah. All right. So in closing this evening, we're going to have hymn number 413. I think Brother James is here somewhere. And after which we'll ask Brother Christian Russell to close us in prayer.
Indeed, Father, you are a loving Father. You are a good God. You have cared for us in our circumstances, and you do indeed continue to care for us. Every day is a blessing, Father, and we thank you for this one. We thank you for Monday. We thank you for a day in which we have been physically fed, we have been spiritually nourished, and through fellowship and friendship we have been cherished and cared for. Help us, Father, to see your care. You are indeed a God of all comfort, and you comfort us, and we pray that we have the opportunity to comfort one another. So we thank you for this time. We thank you for the brothers and sisters around the world in our faith family, those who love you and love your Son, and long for the day when your Son will return and a kingdom will be established when we will have no more need for care, but where we can care for the world. So we thank you, we praise you, we ask that you'll watch over us as we sleep and as we rest, that we might arise refreshed to continue to praise you and give you glory and to draw aside from the world in this place to be with you and with your Son. We're grateful indeed, again, for your care and your love. In the name of your Son, we pray. Amen.
Just the last reminder as we go to whatever we're doing next. If you want to do the hymn sing, that'll be happening here shortly. So, God bless and good night.